so the life of our customers can be easier. So actually we leverage this AI capabilities we have in Tufin for another thing, and we call it our TufinMate. Our TufinMate is a chatbot that actually is built on top of Microsoft Teams. It has a secured connection between your Teams to your TOS environment. And this TufinMate that we have can leverage the information we have in the topology map in order to show you valuable information. And actually what it can do, it can save time for your network engineers. Instead of getting many emails about someone who wants to know if it can reach out to a specific Jira server, for example, and etc., the users who has access, they can use this TufinMate integration to ask these questions and get answers without even sending any email. So for example, I'm sorry that it's too small. I'm going to explain how it looks, but there is no option here in Microsoft Teams just to zoom in. But what I'm going to show you here is that I'm just going to take a specific question that I created. I'm just asking if this specific subnet, 190.0.0.0, prefix 24, can reach out to this 10.255.0.0 for prefix 16 for DNS. So once I'm running this query, what's going to happen is that behind the scenes, this TufinMate is going to reach out to our topology map, and it's going to show me if this traffic is allowed or blocked. In that case, this is a path that related to my Prisma Access environment. And it shows me that I have 4 different locations that this traffic is blocked. It's going to be in my Boston firewall, it's going to be in my remote networks, and also in my data center firewall. This one shows me exactly where it's blocked. And if I want to get more information, I can ask my TufinMate to provide me a summary in a PDF. And once I'm opening this PDF, you'll be able to see that Tufin walks me through the entire path of how the request that I was using in my TufinMate, and also how it looks like in real life in my topology map. So what you see here, if I'm just zooming in, you can see the source, the destination, and also what I use here. And you can see exactly that it shows me throughout the entire path what specifically is allowed or blocked in my network. So for example, in my Prisma Access remote networks, it shows me that I have a few rules that are blocking the access that I'm looking for. Actually, this is exactly the rule that is blocking the access. This is what I use in source, what I use in destination, and I have any in my service. So I can get this information, and as a user, without even reaching out and without even connecting to the topology map to SecureTrack. One more thing that can be used by leveraging this TufinMate, and my user do not have access for that, and probably is going to be for many of the users, I can also provide specific users with permissions to open tickets from here. And then they can say, okay, so this access is blocked. Please open a new ticket in SecureChange that can help me to allow this access so I can reach out to the destination that I'm looking for. And this is definitely something that you can use by leveraging this TufinMate that we have. Okay. Charles, do we have any questions so far?
Nope, we're good. Oh, actually, just came in. You said that Tufin connects to PAN via HTTPS. On which way Tufin can change configuration? Does it use API XML? How's it then on Cisco router, SSH, etc.? This is from Peter.
Yep. So we definitely have, as part of the Knowledge Center, I will send you guys the documentation for each. I will do it with each one of the vendors. With Palo Alto, when we make changes, we do it through the panorama. We do provisioning, we update the panorama, and then we can trigger from Tufin commit to each one of the gateways based on the changes that Tufin made. For Cisco, for example, it will be with SSH connection. This is how we connect to the routers, to the switches, and etc. in order to complete this topology map. So each one of the different devices is based on the best practice that we got from the vendor. And we have all the different commands, and how we integrate with them in the Knowledge Center of Tufin, and we can definitely share this kind of documentation.
Cool, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so I do see the time we have, and I want to make sure that I'm covering all the things we wanted today. So just to summarize, I know I talked about 3 different use cases in this topology map, and I know I mentioned how we can use it from TufinMate. I'm going to show you in a few minutes how we can leverage this topology map as part of the change automation process. But just before we get into the SecureChange part, I want to mention that as part of our SecureTrack product, we do have many different extensions that we created to help our customers with additional use cases. For example, I mentioned before that Tufin can integrate with your IPAMs in order to build all the different network segments, the zones I would call them in Tufin. We also have a lot of integrations in Tufin with vulnerability scanners. So we have one which is called Vulnerability Mitigation App. It can integrate with your vulnerability scanner, and it can help you to prioritize the different risks that you're getting from your vulnerability scanner, because Tufin knows how your network looks like, and it knows where you have your critical assets. So based on that, we can help you to start from the issues that can cause any business outage. We also have integration, which called vulnerability-based change automation, which this one actually connects more to proactive risk analysis. It means that when someone submits a request, we can check if this request can introduce any vulnerability based on your vulnerability scanner before you implement this change, before you push it to your different firewalls. One more, I think like the number one extension that we have here, most of our customers that are using, is our SecureTrack Reporting Essentials. Each one of the features and functions I showed you so far, if it's from the rule viewer of Tufin, if it talks about the unified security policy, each one of the violations, each one of these different features can also be leveraged by reports that you can create for your team. One report that I'm going to just talk about quickly is our security best practice report. In my opinion, is the best one we have. Don't tell the rest of the reports here, but I do think that this report is easy to use and you can get the value really fast, because you can define across your network what exactly information you're looking for and what should be the severity of the violation. So for example, you can find across your entire network, you can let Tufin know, listen, if I have rules with no hits in the last 90 days, show me that in a report as a critical violations. For example, I can say that we have in our network some risky networks that cannot be in each one of the policies. Scan my entire network and find that. Same for services, same for rules with ICMP or duplicate hosts and etc. Once you define this report, you can let Tufin run it every day, every week, every month, and let it send it to you so you can review this entire risk across our entire network. So that's one report I want to talk about. But we also have more reports that talks about like how we can show you the violations across the entire network, a device audit report that can check your devices across the CIS benchmarks, if it's your passwords, your OS, and etc. So this is something that is really useful as part of the reports. But just for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward to the next thing I want to show, which is more talking about how Tufin can help with automating your network change process. So, Charles, do we have any questions about SecureTrack before moving to SecureChange? I don't see that.
You're good so far.
Yep. Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's it for SecureTrack. We do have many more capabilities here related to the visibility side, but I do want to go forward and talk about SecureChange. So after we talked about the visibility and troubleshooting options of Tufin, I want to show you how Tufin uses the same intelligence for change automation through SecureChange. So our SecureChange automates your network change process by using customizable workflows. And right now in Tufin, we offer 9 different workflows that you can customize based on your change process. These 9 different workflows, the first one we have here, and actually is the most used workflow we have in Tufin, is for access request. This one can automate the full access lifecycle from someone who submits a request through getting to a point that we can check if there are any risks, we can find all the devices, and we can make the changes. We also have here workflows for clone network object policy. This can duplicate and adjust existing configurations. We have here workflows for the commission network objects. This one, for example, if you have objects or any subnets that you're not using in your organization anymore, and you do have them part of your policy, we can help you to remove them from your policy so you can, for example, free up some IPv4s or you can just remove this unnecessary subnets from your existing policies. The last three workflows we have here, first of all, the first one here talks about rule decommission. I know I talked about it before. So this one talks about how Tufin can help you once you find useful data in your in the rule viewer of Tufin, how you can remove it or disable it, and also how you can use rule modification to modify your existing rules if needed, based on risky services or based on violations that we found. The last one we have here called rule recertification. Just in short, I want to explain that rule recertification in Tufin is part of a whole initiative that we have in Tufin called rule lifecycle management. This one you can use in order to make sure that each one of your assets owners define if the existing rules in your policies are still necessary. And if not, you can use an automatic approach in Tufin to, for example, certify your rules for 3 or 6 months, for example, and after that, use our automatic approach to remove them from your policies. So that's for rule certification. Just to walk you through like how workflow looks like, I will take one of the workflows I have here. Let's take this firewall change request workflow, which is from the access request type. And once I'm selecting it, you'll be able to see that in my environment, I decided to create this workflow with, you see here, 7 different steps. You can do it with 2 steps if you want. You can do it with 20 steps. We do see different customers, they do it based on their own best practices. The most important thing is that in each one of the steps, you define exactly who is going to do the job. For example, the first step related to the requester, he just needs to add his request, the source, destination, service. Of course, like I mentioned it before, it can be through Tufin, or it can be from your ServiceNow, Jira, any ticketing system that you're working with, and let Tufin run in the backstage. So the first step, like I said, is for the requester. Second step that I selected here is to have business approval, someone who gets the request and it needs to define if it's going to be approved or rejected. The next step, which is actually really interesting because this step is an automatic step, and it means that it's going to run with no human intervention. And we can let each one of the steps here run automatically if needed. I decided in this step to make sure that what's going to happen is that we are going to suggest targets. So what's going to be is that once we get into the first step, this SecureChange is going to reach out to SecureTrack, to the topology map that I showed you before, and it's going to find all the devices that are in the path between the source to the destination. I also use here the risk analysis. This one is for the proactive risk analysis I talked about before related to the USP. It will check if this request can violate your unified security policy. Of course, each one of the other tools that we have here can run automatically or manually. For example, our designer that is going to suggest what needs to be changed, our update in policy. For example, this one is how we can update and push the changes to your panorama, and also commit policy, which is how we can commit the changes from your panorama to each one of the gateways. The last tool we have here is Verifier. Verifier is actually confirms that the request was successfully implemented. It's going to compare the request to what was implemented in your firewalls, and it's going to check if the access is now allowed and the user can actually get to the destination he was looking for. Okay, so that's what I add in step number 3. I just decided that step number 4 is for the risk review. Step number 5 is technical design implementation. In step 6 is going to be actually the commit. And last step is going to be another automatic step for doing the verification. Now, after I showed you this workflow, just want to explain that each one of these fields can be edited. For example, you can decide if you're adding more fields. For example, your text areas, if you want to add some drop-down list, you can customize this workflow based on your needs. And once you create your workflow, all the tickets that your users are going to use, they're going to be based on this workflow or based on this specific template you created before. So for example, I want to show you one of the tickets that I already created. Let's take my Palo Alto tickets that I have, and I want to take something interesting. Let's take this one. I know we talked about Prisma before. Let's continue with that. Of course, we do the same thing if we're connected to the panorama. So What you see here before, what I started to talk about before, is that once we have a ticket, when someone submits a ticket, Tufin can help you across the entire change lifecycle. And let me show you how it works. When we go to the first step, you can see that this is the request that I submitted. In one ticket, I have 3 different access requests. I'm saying that the first one, I want to allow this specific user ID, the administrator's user ID from this subnet to the internet for Facebook access. I also want to use the same user ID for 2 different URL categories for music and social networking for HTTPS. And I want to open access from this specific host to this subnet for the 3 services that you see here in front of you. Once I submitted a request, immediately it moved to the second step, which based on my decision, I decided it's going to be the business approval. So Henry is from the relevant team. He was assigned to this step, and he's now saying that, and he can decide now if he's going to approve or reject the ticket. In my case, and I think it's because of the demo, it definitely approved the request, so I'm happy about that. And I can move on to the next step. Next step is the identify targets and risks. What's happening here, and like I explained before, automatically, we are getting from the topology map of Tufin all the devices that are in the path between the source to destination. We see at the first request, I have this mobile user device group. And the second one also for the mobile user DG. The third one is for one of my Boston firewalls, my remote networks, and my data center firewall. In addition to the suggested targets, what we also see here is that we are also showing you the risk analysis results. So we see that for the first one, we do have risks. So if I'm clicking on it, it's going to show me, based on my unified security policy, which violations I can introduce to my network by approving it. So the InfoSec team, they're going to get this information, and they will see that, for example, here, the source is this subnet. It comes from the user's network. The destination is to the internet, and I asked for any in this request. But according to my corporate matrix, the traffic between these 2 segments should be blocked. It should be block all. So what's going to happen is that in the next step, in step number 4, which is the risk review, the team, they can review it, they can review the risks, and they can decide if they're going to approve it or not. In this case, they approved it, but I can see so many different cases, and we do see it with our customers, that they just reject the ticket, and that's it. The ticket will be closed on this step, and the user is going to get information about why this ticket was closed. We can explain to him that it's because it can be a violation for PCI, for NIST, for our best practices, and etc. So after we pass this risk analysis step, the next step is actually related to the technical design and implementation. And this is really interesting. And maybe it's mostly interesting for me because I came from the team that actually worked on that, but I hope it will be interesting for you. What we do here, we're using a tool called Designer. Designer is going to go through each one of the devices that Tufin found based on the topology map, and we are going to suggest what exactly needs to be changed in the policies in order to implement this change. So if I'm clicking on Designer, you'll be able to see that Tufin shows me what are the changes that are needed on each one of the devices I have in the path. For example, if I'm clicking on this Palo Alto Networks area, it will show me that for the mobile users device group, what I need to do is I need to add a new rule before this specific rule. You know, our designer is looking on the entire policy. We don't want to get into a situation that we're adding like shadowing rules or shadowed rules. So we're going to suggest exactly where this rule should be located. If I'm clicking on the rule, it will show me exactly how it will be on the Palo Alto device. And if I want to make changes to our suggestions, I can do it before implementing the change. If I want, for example, to add the log forwarding profile, I can do that. I can do it from the log forwarding profiles I have from my panorama. If I want to do it, if I want to change my security profile group, I can do it as well. If I want to add some rule tags, I can add it as part of this policy. If I want to change the comments, these are something that I can do before I'm pushing the change to my Palo Alto environment. Same thing as you'll be able to see is for access request number 3, which shows me exactly what rule is gonna needs to be added to my remote networks. And I just want to give you some little bit more information about this designer. You see that, for example, for access request 2, we're saying that this is fully implemented. So when Designer starts to work, what's happening is that we're not just adding rule anytime. We're looking on your existing policy, and we're looking on the access request. If we're seeing that this access is already implemented, we're not going to change everything, of course. But also, if we're seeing that you have an existing rule that allows, for example, you already have a rule that allows access from source A to destination B for HTTPS. If someone submitted a request to get access from source A to destination B for FTP, we're not going to create a new rule. We're going to suggest you to edit the existing rule in your Palo Alto in order to avoid having like duplicate rules or like having too many rules in your policies. This is part of what Designer is doing by default. Of course, if you want Tufin to add new rules for each request, we can do that. But by default, we are working to optimize your existing policy. The last thing that we have here, part of this change process, is the verifier that I mentioned before. So right now, I didn't make any change. But if we're making a change on the device, the verifier at the end is supposed to be green. It's supposed to show me that right now, the firewalls that I have in the path, they're allowing the access. If I'm going to open it right now, it's going to show me what's happening right now in my mobile users because I didn't make any change. It shows me that I still have a rule that is blocking the access that I'm looking for. I do have a rule that is partially implementing the request, but still it's not allowing the entire request that I submitted. So that's what the verifier is doing. We're using it, we can use it before, or it's most common to use it after to make sure that there is a rule right now that is allowing what the customer asked for. So just to summarize, I just walked you through the entire change lifecycle. When we talk about access request, from user that submits the request, how we go through finding the devices that should be changed, finding the risks, at the end of the day, suggest what needs to be changed, make these changes to your Palo Alto environment, and at the end of the day, verify if the changes that you implemented from Tufin can now allow the user get to the destination that I was looking for. And actually, that's it from my side. So, just to wrap up, just to summarize, what I showed you today was how SecureTrack can give you this kind of like unmatched visibility, how SecureChange can automate your entire change lifecycle, and how together they ensure that your network stays secure, compliant, and agile, and across not only your on-prem, also your cloud and your SaaS environment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this has been fantastic, David. We actually had Daniel make a comment during your last little section there that's amazing.
Appreciate that.
I know I kind of got a preview of everything yesterday, but the stuff that Tufin has coming is just absolutely amazing. Integration across multiple vendors, it makes the multi-cloud environments life so much easier. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Peter did ask it though, what is the licensing model? I guess Tim, maybe you should take that question.
Yeah, so if you think about the maturity curve that we showed you, we package and price our product so that it actually follows that maturity curve. So customers who are in the crawl stage buy the use cases, the SecureTrack plus packaging, right? And it's tied to the number of firewalls or an equivalency. So for example, with some SASE technologies, we tie it to the number of users. X number of users is one firewall unit. And so it's really, we try to package the product so that we can follow that customer journey, and it's all tied back to a firewall unit. Hopefully that answers the question. So just a closing out real quickly, a few years ago, we hired Forrester to interview some of our customers to talk about tangible and significant ROI. And what we found was 80% fewer vulnerability breaches, 95% faster audit prep, and an ROI of 144% in 6 months. So pretty significant financial returns for customers. And you can see an example of some of the customers by industry on the right-hand side here. What's common across our customer base is not any particular vertical, but the fact that organizations have large, complex, multi-vendor networks. And the other thing that would be common across most of our customers is they have compliance requirements. That's often a big driver. This is what we call the Tufin wheel. Topology in the middle there is our ability to share that topology with other the NetOps and SecOps teams is how we break down those silos. So earlier I showed 3 distinct silos for network security, IT, network operations, and InfoSec and cybersecurity. The intent here is to say that by sharing data and context, we can actually unify those teams and make them work better together. Tufin AI, democratization of security policy management. David gave you a great example of TufinMate, and of course, automation that he just talked about. So that's sort of the summary on Tufin. And now it's time for, we need a bigger boat, and Noah Tuttle is the man behind the magic here. Let me stop sharing. And while Noah's pulling that up, I just want a big thank you, Charles, to you and the Fuel Users Group, and to David for his most excellent presentation, and for all of you who attended. We really appreciate your time.
Awesome. You
All
can
right.
see my screen here, Tim?
Yeah, look at that. I'm getting dizzy.
Awesome. All righty. Spinning to win it.
Whoa.
Perfect. It looks like it's going to be Simon Long. Nice. All right,
Hey, go Simon.
Congratulations.
Just snuck under the wire there.
We will
Hey, Simon, that's what you get for being one of the first ones on the event today. So thank you for doing that for us. We really appreciate it. So we will have Noah reach out to you after the event to get your contact information for shipping the Lego set to you. As everyone can tell, I'm obviously a bit of a Lego fan myself. So Simon, congratulations to you. Gentlemen with Tufin, thank you very much, everyone, for really coming out today and showing a fantastic event. We've got a question about the recording. Yes, the event will be posted later. It's going to take me a couple of days to get it actually edited and up. It will be in 2 places. It'll be on the Live Community's YouTube channel. We have a dedicated playlist specifically for the FTA events. There will also be a post-event blog posted on Live Community referencing the event, getting the slide deck that we can share to you guys. All of that will be out there, along with the chat history as well, since we've had some good questions in there too. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Really appreciate you having taking your time from your day to join us. And I can't do words, apparently, I guess, again. So,
well, thank you for everybody who joined. Thank you, Charles, David, Noah. Awesome.
Absolute pleasure.
Have a good rest of your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can give me about another 2 more minutes, we'll go ahead and wrap things up here.